There are three main factors which will determine the performance of a table tennis rubber. 1. Your ability to play the shots correctly. 2. Your style of play. And 3. The type of blade or paddle you use. With this in mind, we asked two of our top players, Ronnie Pennington, who plays a topspin attack game, and Tony Rigby, who plays an all-round game, to help us test the Stiga Boost TC used on a Sunflex Martinez light premium offensive minus blade, which weighs approximately 68 grams and has 5 veneers of balsa koto, an Xiom Zeta Asian spun version table tennis rubber used on an Andro Supercore Carbon Light Offensive Plus blade, which weighs approximately 70 grams and has 5 plies, including a centre ply of balsa reinforced with koto strips. The Stiga Boost TC and Xiom Zeta are inverted rubbers and have a quality look and feel to them when new. Both have a grippy surface rather than a tacky one. The Zeta Asian sponge is the harder of the two, but this is compensated for by the Zeta rubber, which appears to have a lot of give in it, and this probably explains why the ball bounces similarly for both the Boost TC and Zeta. Where the Boost TC and Zeta really seem to differ is in their ability to stand up to wear and tear. The Boost TC is approximately 2 months old and looks as new. The Zeta is only 3 weeks old, but in places the rubber is coming away from the sponge. How well you look after a rubber will obviously affect how long it lasts, but the Xiom Zeta is one of the most fragile sheets of rubber I've owned. Serving is always done with the Boost TC on the left and Zeta on the right. The bat angle of the returner was left open to help demonstrate the amount of spin being put on the ball by the server. Both rubbers performed well in the service area. The Zeta was a tiny bit slower than the Boost TC, but there was little noticeable difference in terms of control. Possibly due to the Boost's softer sponge and longer dwell time, both Tony and Ronnie were able to generate a little more kick and spin when serving with the Boost TC. Both rubbers were very similar, but the Stiga Boost TC was felt to be marginally the better of the two rubbers for serving. There was little difference in the performance of the two rubbers. Both players were able to push, flick, drive, and loop their returns. Tony felt the Zeta was a little bit slower and so offered a little bit more touch and control on the return. However, Ronnie found the Zeta to have more of a catapult feel and preferred the softer feel and touch of the Boost TC. Ultimately, it'll be down to your own preference, but for the service returns, the result was a tie. Both Tony and Ronnie were able to drive and block the ball well with the Zeta and Boost TC. Although the Zeta sounded faster, both players agreed in reality the Boost TC was just the faster of the two rubbers. In addition, Tony and Ronnie were able to put a little more into their shots while still maintaining slightly better control with the Boost TC. This was the case for both driving and blocking the ball. Once more, both rubbers performed well, but the Boost TC was felt to be the better rubber for both driving and blocking because of its extra speed and control. When looping, Tony was surprised he could generate more spin with the Zeta, but he still remained more comfortable playing this type of shot with the Boost TC. For Ronnie, the ball came off the rubber surface of the Boost TC a tiny bit slower than with the Zeta, and this meant the Boost TC gave him a better feel and touch for the shot. Ronnie was also able to generate slightly more spin looping with the Boost TC than with the Zeta. For looping, both players felt the Boost TC was marginally the better rubber, but it needs to be noted that the Zeta does come in a softer European version sponge. Ronnie never chops the ball, so it was left to Tony to decide the winner in this category. With the Zeta being a little bit slower than the Boost TC, Tony felt he had more control over his chop returns, keeping them lower and more often on the table than with the Boost TC. It must be remembered that neither of these rubbers are intended as defensive chopping rubbers, but if you were to find yourself forced away from the table, the Zeta was felt to be the better rubber of the two for chopping.
Speed? There's nothing in it, but I'd go for the Boost. It's just it, only just, isn't it?
Yeah. So it's just the Boost on speed?
Yeah. Only just. It's just, if you think the pushing and the defending bit, I'd go for the Xiom.
Okay.
But certainly the top spin and lock, and
The spin?
it's not much in it.
Very similar rubbers, that.
Very simple. That's just that boost is that little bit. I don't know. I could feel the ball
It's a better all-rounder, isn't it? It does everything well, yeah.
Okay, and control?
I think the boost for me, I feel, yeah, you can feel the boost. It has more touch
I
to
just
it.
felt the boost had a little bit more control, although I couldn't chop to it as much as I could chop with that.
I'll leave it to Tony and Ronnie to sum up.
I'm looking for an all-round game, my all-round game. I chop a little bit on my forehand, but I also float and topspin. So I would go the mix. I get more out of the boost than I would out of this one. So I'd probably go for the boost in the all-round game.
I go with the boost. I don't know why, there's not much in it. I just feel a bit more comfortable with the boost for some reason.
And I said that the different bats, Ronnie's bat is a little bit lighter than mine, slightly lighter, and maybe that makes a difference. But overall, I think the boost just edges it. Just edges it. Yeah.
And how does the Stiga Boost TC compare to a speed glued rubber?
It sounds good. It feels good.
It does, yeah.
Yeah. And the bat is. I think the bat's good as well.
With glue, you don't get the feel you get with this, do you?
No, I don't think so.
Glue will be faster,
And I
but that's
think-
good feel. That.